These are the 16 things nobody tells beginner shooters.
We are MDT. We design, test, and create precision rifle chassis and accessories to help you shoot better.
Today we're going to go over a bunch of tips that most shooters have actually forgot about over time, and they tend not to tell new shooters what these are. A good rule of thumb is whatever you spend on your rifle, you should spend at least that on your scope. You end up with a lot of guys who will go and spend $1,000 on a rifle and $150 on a scope and rings. Your scope is extremely important. If you can't see where you're hitting down range or you can't dial consistently, you're not going to be able to hit what you're shooting at. I highly recommend you going and buying a few different types of ammo, testing them each out, making sure that you find the best one that shoots the best in your gun. Don't be afraid to buy some cheap ammo to expensive ammo. You might find something that actually is less expensive for you to shoot and makes it easier to shoot more. Now that you've figured out what your gun likes to shoot for factory ammo, you're going to want to go and take a look at the lot number on that ammo box. It's super important to go and shoot the same lot number for your ammo because you definitely will see inconsistencies between lot to lot. So now that you found the ammo your gun likes and you want to go and shoot some longer range, you're trying to figure out, well, how do I gather my dope or get my dope for this type of situation? Your best bet is going to be go and download a free app on your phone. You don't need to go and buy an expensive Kestrel to get you going. The information you can get off a phone is very, very good and will likely get you on target all the way to 1,000 yards if you put in good data for it. So when you're shooting, you're definitely going to want to go and shoot with both eyes open. You tend to run into people who actually will squint their left or right eye. The reason you want to keep both eyes open is, first off, it's less strain on your eyes. Another great reason to shoot with both eyes open is when you're hunting, you can use a peripheral vision to go see if you have any animals coming in. And if you're shooting longer range, you can go and look at the terrain or the trees or flags to see if anything changes as well. Now, this all being said, if you find it very difficult to do it, don't worry about it too much. I personally squint. So now that you're done your day of shooting on the range or out in your longer range spot you have, do you think you really need to clean that rifle? You probably don't. If you only have, say, 50 or 100 rounds to your gun, you're probably okay not to clean it. Generally, a good rule of thumb is if you see the accuracy starting to drop off in your gun, you probably should clean it. So keep a record of what that looks like, and then you can get ahead of that a little bit. Say at 200 rounds, you go clean your gun, or maybe even 500 rounds, you go clean your gun. And that will save you a lot of time so you can spend more of it out on the range. Okay, so now that you've cleaned your gun and you go back to the range and you find that it's not shooting nearly as well as it was, why is that? Well, what's happened is you've gone and taken all the copper and all the carbon out of your barrel and cleaned it right down to, say, bare metal. The first few rounds through that gun are going to go and foul that barrel in. So it's going to lay down a fresh layer of copper and a fresh layer of carbon in your barrel. And that's when the bullet is the most consistent, is after that happens. So don't be afraid if your group is a little bit bigger for the first 5 or 10 shots. After that, it should tighten back up. Now you're at a point where your accuracy needs to start getting better. Two of the best things you can get for that accuracy improvement is going to be a bipod and a rear bag. This gives you a great platform for your rifle to sit on, allows you to support the rear of the rifle very easily with the bag and adjust those micro adjustments for those longer range shots. The bipod is going to allow you to take the cant out of your rifle and make sure you're super stable. One of the big factors new shooters overlook is the ergonomics of their setup. Now, to get the best ergonomics out of your rifle, you're probably going to have to go to a stock or a chassis that has the adjustability of a cheek piece, length of pull, and some other features like, say, adding weights, maybe adjustable grip like we do here at MDT. What this is going to allow you to do is get that gun fit perfectly to you so it is the most comfortable thing and is an extension of your arms. And you can take that thing, lay prone behind it for an hour while you're hunting coyotes, or go shoot a 2-day PRS match and have no strain in your neck or your back. So when you're going through this journey of building up your precision rifle that you want to shoot, don't overlook the little accessories like a muzzle brake or a trigger. These are two really important parts to make your gun more shootable and more enjoyable to shoot. The muzzle brake is going to reduce the recoil. Your trigger is going to be more crisp, likely a little bit lighter, and just easier to shoot so you get tighter grooves. So you're at the range now and you haven't figured out exactly how this whole app thing works. A quick hack is, say you have 600 yards, you take the first number in that of 6, you subtract 2 from that, which equals 4, and you take that and dial on your scope in mils. So 4 mils will likely get you on target at 600 yards with most calibers. Past 600 or 700 yards, this is likely not going to work nearly as well. So at that time, you're definitely going to want to get that app going. when you go set up your scope on your gun, the height of your rings doesn't really matter. We've even shown this in some other videos. That doesn't matter for accuracy. Honestly, it just comes down to ergonomics of your setup. When you run a little bit higher scope rings, you generally can run a little straighter head on your cheek piece. Makes it a little more comfortable to shoot in, say, a kneeling or standing position, and still fairly comfortable to shoot in a prone position as well. Other big advantage of running a higher scope base is that you're going to be able to go and run that bolt a little bit easier and have a little more clearance there as well. One of the great things about the ballistic apps you run on your phone or Kestrel is you can automatically put in how high your scope is, and it accounts for that at longer range shots. One thing you really want to avoid is slapping that trigger. Trigger control on a precision rifle is extremely important. Now, if you come from another discipline, say like shotgun, where it's not nearly as focused on, you need to make sure that you get used to going from, say, an anchor point to touching that trigger, squeezing it nice and easy, and then following through. The other big thing is you want to use the center of the tip of your finger, that pad area, and try and keep it in the same location on that trigger every single time. Consistency here will make sure you stay as accurate as possible downrange. When you're shooting prone, you need to get directly behind the gun. Now, what does this mean? You've probably seen lots of videos, video games, all kinds of books and stuff like that that show people shooting off to the side. This is an older style of shooting where you had to use a sling to support the rifle. Now that we're using a rear bag and a bipod, you can get directly behind that gun, get it lined up with the center of your body so you can control that recoil and really see where that shot hits downrange. Now, the same thing goes for shooting kneeling. It's old school way of thinking to go and put your left knee up if you're right-handed, support the front of your rifle with your knee and your elbow on it. Nowadays, we shoot off, say, a barricade or a tripod. So your best bet now is go and raise up your right knee, support your trigger hand, and then use your other hand to support the front of the rifle. This will give you the most stability in this position and make sure you can make a super accurate shot. So when you're getting into guns and long range shooting, you're probably gonna find that it's not gonna be a cheap sport to get into. So you need to be strategic about how you spend your money. So start with the basics, say a standard barreled action or a factory gun with a stock on it. From there, you can go and upgrade slowly, add a muzzle brake, go get a good scope for it, change out your trigger, put it into a good chassis so you can get that perfect ergonomics, buy a solid bipod for it and a good rear bag. Kind of sprinkle these things in here and there. Some are a little more expensive, some are a little less expensive. Spread it out over time and it'll make it easier to hide from your wife.